Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Everybody, with your heart. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everybody, a little louder. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I welcome all of you to His Holiness Candramauli Swami daily class. Thank you very much for joining on this auspicious occasion of Ekadashi. Welcome Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So Maharaj, with your permission, should we continue on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 13, verse 45, or today Ekadashi, so anything on Harinam? Maharaj, you are on mute, please.
Yeah, we'll do Harinam.
Should I share anything, Maharaj?
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, go to Canto 2,
Yeah,
Chapter 1.
yeah.
Verse number, I think it's 11 or 12. I think it's verse number 12.
Etan nirvidyam.
Yeah, that's it. That's verse number 12.
That's 11. Okay, I'm just sharing. Is this the verse?
Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, first chapter, verse number 11. Etam nirvidyamananam ichtitam makutabayam yoginam nirpanyamuktam harinamanukkirtanam. O King, constantly chanting of the holy name of the Lord after the ways of the great authority is the doubtless and fearless way of success for all, including those who are free from all material desires, those who are desirous of all material enjoyment, and also those who are self-satisfied by dint of transcendental knowledge. I'll read the purport and comment as we go along because it's a very long purport. In the very previous verse, the great necessity for attaining Mukunda has been accredited. There are different types of persons who desire to attain success in different varieties of pursuits. Generally, the persons are materialists who desire to enjoy the fullest extent of material gratification. Next to them are the transcendentalists who have attained perfect knowledge about the nature of material enjoyment, and thus they are aloof from such an illusionary way of life. So first we're hearing about the karmis, which are the ones who want to enjoy material sense gratification to the fullest extent. And we got the gyanis here. Transcendentalists, they're aloof from material life. More or less, it's not like they are, but it says more or less, they are satisfied in themselves and self-realization. Above them are the devotees who neither aspire to enjoy the material world nor desire to get out of it. They are after the satisfaction of the Lord, the Krishna. In other words, the devotees of the Lord do not want anything of their personal account. If the Lord desires, the devotees can accept all types of material facilities. The Lord does not desire, the devotees can leave aside all such facilities up to the limit of salvation. Nor are they self-satisfied because they want the satisfaction of the Lord only. So here we're hearing about three classes of people, and that's mentioned in the translation, that there are those who desire all material enjoyment, which are the majority of the world's population today. They are seeking sense gratification through economic gain, through various types of pursuits, both ordinary and those that they employ in order to gain some transcendental pleasure. In other words, extra activities. We call them luxuries or parties, or we might say ways that they plan holidays, in other words, like that. But even in the day-to-day activities of the materialists, such as maintaining family and job, they seek sense gratification as the outcome. So they are considered to be, amongst the human section, the lowest types of persons, because they are thinking that they are this body, and the satisfaction of the body and mind through contact with the material objects of the senses is the goal of life. They're no better than animals, because animals simply do the same thing. They eat, they sleep, they mate, and they defend in various ways. But in the human form, we do the same thing: eating, sleeping, mating, defending. But because we do it in a more polished way, or even in a more varieties of way, we think we are advanced. But the activities are the same. It's like I was with Srila Prabhupada many years ago in New York City. We were on a morning walk with other devotees in Central Park, which is the biggest park in the US. It's also quite big in terms of parks in general. And there's roadways going through the park. So cars are going through the park, along with nice places for walking. So Prabhupada stopped all of us at once. He was leading the walk, and then he turned around and faced all of them. He pointed to the cars that were passing by, and he said, the man is running on 4 wheels, the dog is running on 4 legs. What is the difference? So he gave us a question. And devotees didn't respond. Nobody said anything, waiting for Prabhupada to give the answer. And he did. He said there is no difference. The man is running on 4 wheels, the dog is running on 4 legs. The business is the same. In other words, the dog is running after sense enjoyment. The man is running after sense enjoyment. The way it's done may be different, but the goal is the same. So therefore, you hear a lot, Prabhupada, you say that generally people are animals because they aspire to do the same thing the animals do, but in a more polished way. And they call that human civilization. Sometimes you even call that, when they think of new ways to enjoy, they call that advancement. But it's advancement in darkness, because ultimately there is no benefit in sense gratification other than taking the basic necessities of life that are required to maintain the body and the soul. Other than that, real enjoyment is on another level. Then you have the Gyanis here. It says here, they aspire, they do not aspire to get out of the material world. No, I'm sorry. They are, it says here, they obtain perfect knowledge about the nature of material enjoyment. In other words, they've tried for material enjoyment, and then they also studied it. Now they understand its illusion. So they want to get out. And here Prabhupada said they are more or less satisfied in themselves by suffering. In other words, they know they're not this body. And they engage in various types of meditation, prayer, study of the scriptures, and attain for the impersonal goal by trying to merge themselves into the body of the Lord, or into the effulgence of the Lord. They're called Gyanis, and there's different types of Gyanis also. So they are a little bit better than the Karmis. but still they haven't achieved the real goal of life. Here it's mentioned the devotees. The devotees don't aspire to enjoy the world like the karmis, nor do they aspire to get out of the world like the jnanis. Neither one. They simply see the Lord, the world, I'm sorry, they simply see the world as the energy of the Lord to be used in the service of the Lord. So they might be very poor in terms of material prosperity and accumulation of material things, such as Polarich or Sridhar, or they may be very, very wealthy and very powerful, such as King Parikshit, who was a powerful king and the king of the world at the time. But in either way, it doesn't matter what economic situation they are in, they simply seek the satisfaction of the Lord. Nor do they try to enjoy, nor do they try to renounce. They renounce. That is the nature of the devotees. They simply want to please the Lord. They want to purify themselves from any desire, personal desire, and ultimately attain the association of the Lord in the spiritual world. And it goes on to say here, in this verse, Sukadeva Goswami recommends the chanting, transcendental chanting of the Lord's holy name. By offenseless chanting and hearing of the holy name of the Lord, one becomes acquainted with the transcendental form of the Lord, and then with the attributes in the Lord, and then with the nature of the pastimes, etc. So this is also interesting. It says that as one progresses and develops their chanting more and more, they realize that Krishna's name is Krishna. In other words, through their chanting, they can understand the name is non-different than Krishna. It's not a theoretical or philosophical understanding. It's an experience through coming in contact with Krishna through his holy name. They understand, yeah, God is his name. As they continue and develop in that same way, then the next stage is they actually realize that the different forms of the Lord, such as the forms we see in the temple, the deities, are also Krishna and non-different than him. They don't think that the deity is the representative of the Lord. They actually understand that the deity is non-different than the Lord, and he manifests in that way. And that's done by also through the process of chanting. And they also understand Krishna's qualities, his various qualities, how he deals with his devotees in different ways. And the qualities that he exhibits, these are also non-different than the Lord. And finally, when they reach the highest perfectional stage, they realize that Krishna's pastimes are non-different than Krishna. All of it is the absolute transcendental nature, and it all comes through the process of chanting and purifying. So Prabhupada says, by offenseless chanting and hearing of the holy name, one becomes acquainted with these different levels. Yeah. Then it goes on to say, here it is mentioned that one should constantly chant the holy name of the Lord after hearing it from the authorities. That's a very important statement. Hearing it from the authorities means to take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and hear from them, and then understand the process of chanting through that and free themselves from the offenses. And as the purport goes on, we'll get into that section about freeing ourselves from the offenses. And here, Prabhupada says, this means that hearing from authorities is the first essential. So this process, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, or Krishna Smaranam, is the way for success. One has to hear regularly from those who are qualified to speak. In other words, those who are situated on the spiritual platform. Hearing of the holy name gradually promotes one to the stage of hearing about his form, attributes, pastimes, and so on. And thus the necessity of chanting of his glories develops successfully. So we're learning about the whole process of devotional service as it evolves through the progressive chanting of the holy name. This process is recommended not only for successful execution of devotional service, but also for even those who are materially attached. Here we go. Okay. According to Sukadeva Goswami, the ways of attaining success, I can't see anymore. Yeah, the way is an established fact. In other words, we're hearing from Sukadeva Swami, who is the authority, and he's saying this is the process. If we hear from him and follow, we get the result. Concluded not only by him, but also by the previous acharyas. So when we speak about spiritual principles, spiritual activities, we also refer to the previous acharyas and spiritual masters who give validation, confirmation, support to the statements that we make. And just like when Arjuna wanted to establish that Krishna actually is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he glorified the Lord in different ways. Param Brahman, Param Dhamam, Paramam, Param Bhavan. He said, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and exhaustible. He described Krishna in so many ways. And after he finished, he says, and Asita, Deva, Vyas, and Narada, they all say the same thing. So not only did he make his statements, but he supported his statements from the transcendental authorities. So here, the process is recommended not only for progressive students in different departments of ideological success, but also for those who are already successful in achievement as fruitive workers, as philosophers, as devotees of the Lord. So Prabhupada now mentions the Gyanis, Karmis, and devotees in three different ways. He describes them again. And so if the devotees take up the process, if the Karmis take up the process, if the Gyanis take up the yogis take up the process, then they can achieve success. Srila Jiva Goswami instructs that chanting of the holy name of the Lord should be loudly done. And it should be performed offenselessly as well as recommended in the Padma Purana. One can deliver himself from all the effects of sin by surrendering himself unto the Lord. One can deliver himself from all the offenses at the feet of the Lord by taking shelter of his holy name. So we commit offenses. There are offenses in bhakti, there are offenses to Vaishnavas, there are offenses to the holy name, there are offenses to the deity. There are 4 or 5 categories, and there's also offenses to the Dham, the holy Dham. One can deliver themselves from these offenses by taking shelter of the holy name. But one cannot protect himself if one commits an offense at the feet of the holy name of the Lord. Such offenses are mentioned in the Padma Purana as being 10 in number. So here, what we will see now is a listing of the 10 offenses. And the first offense is to vilify great devotees who preached about the glories of the Lord. And that is considered the Hasti Aparad. It's a very dangerous offense. It causes one to, it causes one's devotional service to stop. In other words, one cannot make any more advancement if they vilify or criticize great devotees who have dedicated their lives to preaching the glories of the Lord. The second offense is to see the holy names of the Lord in worldly distinction. The Lord is the proprietor of all the universes, and therefore he may be known in different places by different names. But that does not in any way qualify the fullness of the Lord. So here's this next statement is very interesting. Any nomenclature which is meant for the Supreme Lord is as holy as the others because they are meant for the Lord. Such holy names are as powerful as the Lord, and there is no bar from anyone in any part of the creation to chant and glorify the Lord by the particular name of the Lord as is locally understood. They are all auspicious, and one should not distinguish such names of the Lord as material quality, commodity. So that second offense is that the names of the Lord are non-different than the Lord, and the Lord has many names. It's like Lord Chaitanya made that point when he said, Nam Nam Akari Bahudani Jisarva Shakti Statar Pitani Amita Smarane Nakala Eta Disri Tavakripa Bhagavan Mama Pidor Daiva Midri Samni Hajini Nanuranaha. So what did he say? That, my dear Lord, you have hundreds, millions of names, not just one. And then he mentions there are principal names and secondary names. The principal names, as he mentions, are like Govinda, Krishna, names that connect the Lord to his activities and his qualities or his pure devotees. And then it mentions that the Lord has secondary names like Ishwara and Param Brahman, those names that describe his function in relationship to the material energy. So the acharyas say we should chant the primary names and not the secondary names. And this is what Prabhupada is saying. The Lord has many primary names. And they may be found in different religious traditions, such as Allah or Yahweh, or these are some names of the Lord. Jehovah. All of these names are non-different than the Lord, and one can chant. The third offense is to neglect the orders of the authorized acharyas or spiritual masters. That's self-explanatory. We hear from the spiritual masters to get knowledge, to get direction, and therefore we should not neglect these orders, nor minimize them, thinking that there are some that are important, some that are not important. They're all important. The fourth offense is to vilify scriptures or Vedic knowledge. So to criticize other religious scriptures, to find fault with other religious scriptures, or even to make a comparison within the Vedic scheme of higher and lower in terms of better and worse. All the scriptures have a particular meaning for a certain class of men. So there are people who are in the mode of goodness, people in the mode of passion, people in the mode of ignorance, people even below those qualities. So these the different scriptures are for people on different levels of life, so they can progress. And if you give pure devotional service to people, certain people in certain parts of the world, because they're not accustomed to it, can't understand it, they think it's some eulogy or something. Better that they practice in a more simplified form of spirituality as understood according to their level of material activities. That's why there's so many different scriptures for different types of mentality. And to vilify them is an offense, because God has ordained all of these scriptures accordingly. The fifth offense is to define the holy name of the Lord in terms of one mundane calculation. The holy name of is identical with the Lord himself, and one should understand the holy name of the Lord to be non-different than the Lord. So some people say, well, it's just eulogy that, the Lord's name is identical with him. It's hyperbole, it's exaggeration, it's just to get you to chant. But actually, it's the other way around. It's actually an understatement. And to think that it's an oversimplification, an overstatement here is what is being said in this fifth offense. The Lord's name is himself, non-different. The sixth offense is to interpret the Lord. Because the Lord is not imaginary, nor his holy name. There are persons with a poor fund of knowledge who think that the Lord to be an imagination or the worshiper, and therefore they think the holy name to be imaginary. Such a chanting of the Lord cannot achieve the desired success in the matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord. So what I describe as the fifth offense is actually the sixth offense. The sixth, what I'll describe now is the fifth offense, and that is that you compare the holy name of the Lord to something material. Like the holy name of the Lord is like taking a really good, energizing bath that refreshes you and enlivens your whole constitution. The holy name of the Lord is like a great party of happiness. In other words, to compare it to anything is an offense. You can't interpret the holy name. The holy name is what it is. It's Krishna, that's all. We can explain it in relationship to Krishna, but we can't give it any material comparison or interpretation. That's an offense. The seventh offense is to commit sins intentionally on the strength of the holy name. So that really means that, it says that the holy name can relieve all the reactions of sinful activities, which it does. So let me, enjoy a little illicit sex, have some intoxication, and then in the evening I'll chant the holy name and I get free from the reaction. That's a very dangerous mentality. Yasya, what is that? It's considered a very heinous offense. Try to take advantage of the Lord, the Holy Name's mercy by committing offenses and trying to get relief. It won't work. It's called Papa Buddhi. Papa means sin and Buddhi means deep, great sin. That's a great sin to try to, use the Holy Name as a way to get free from. If you accidentally commit offenses, then then the holy name will relieve that. But if you purposely do it with the intention of getting relief by chanting, then it won't work, because Krishna's name is Krishna, and he knows that you're just trying to use the holy name for your own selfish interest. And you can't do that. It's Krishna himself. The eighth offense is to consider the holy name of the Lord and his chanting method to be equal to some material activity. Okay, there are many good works that one can do, and there are many auspicious things, and many things I can give in charity. I can open hospitals. I can chant the names of the different demigods. I can do various types of pujas, homas, worships, and they're all the same. The holy name is just one of the many activities. So that's also offense, to try to bring down the holy name in connection with other materially mode of goodness activities. That's using the holy name for one's personal service. The ninth offense is those who are not interested and trying to instruct them, impart that knowledge to an unwilling audience is an offense. So if we're speaking to someone, we should always, about the holy name, we should all keep it simple. Chant the holy name, and you can connect yourself with God through his holy name. We shouldn't try to force it. People are unwilling to hear, then do not speak. Refrain from talking. If people are willing to hear, but they're not qualified to hear, then when I say not qualified, is that they're just listening because they're being polite, but they really are not interested. They don't believe what you're saying. So don't try to explain the glories of the holy name, like how it connects with Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan with his intimate associates. And, in the Christian tradition, it says, do not throw pearls before swines. That's how this is understood in a more simplified language. The pearls of the holy name, and people who are like pigs or materialistic consciousness, you try to give them just like if you throw some halava to a pig, he'll ignore it. He won't eat it, or he'll roll it in the dirt first so he can eat the dirt with it. You can't understand the value of it. So it's very offensive to try to force or instruct people who are not interested. The 10th offense is hearing about the glories of the holy name and still becoming uninterested in chanting. The effects of chanting the holy name is perceived by the chanter as liberation from the conception of false ego. False ego is exhibited by thinking oneself the enjoyer of the world and everything in the world being meant for the enjoyment of oneself. So here's the understanding. The whole material world is moving under the false egoism via mind, but the factual effect of chanting the holy name is to become free from such misconceptions. So what does that mean? It means ultimately that after hearing the glories of the Lord sufficiently for many years, we still think I'm this body, and the activities with the body and its senses are actually the goal of life. In other words, we're not interested in hearing the glories of the holy name, and we may chant the holy name just as a function, but not really understanding that it's Krishna himself and there's a process of purification. This is called the I and mind conception. This 10th offense, devotees fall into it a lot. After it's 15, 20 years in the movement, still they're chanting, but they're still on the bodily platform. Okay. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much for highlighting the value of holy name. Dear devotees, if you have any questions, comments, or realizations, please unmute yourself. And if you want me to read on your behalf, you can type in chat window. Also request all the devotees to please switch on your camera, so you can have darshan, and Guru Maharaj can also have your darshan. It's a good auspicious occasion today, Ekadashi, so it's good. Yes, Sridevi Mataji, you have raised your hand. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Vrindavan Maharaj. Dear Guru Maharaj, my humble obeisances, all glories to Prabhupada. Maharaj, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that devotees neither desire to enjoy this material world, nor do they desire to get out of the material world. But many times you have heard Prabhupada say, just get out, go back home, go back to Godhead. So many times Prabhupada has said, the aim of human life is to go back home, back to Godhead. So if we desire to get out of this material world and go back to Godhead, is that a personal selfish desire?
No, it's not selfish because it's the goal of life, but at the same time, there's a higher principle that's being enunciated here. That devotees, that verse by Lord Chaitanya, Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kabitam Vajagadish Karmaye Manla Janmani Janmani Ishware Pabitat Bhaktir Haituki Tui. I don't desire any of the material benefits that are available in this material activities. And I don't even want liberation. What do I want? Janmani Ishware. I want to be your servant life after life. So that is the highest perfection of the souls, because devotional service, as it's understood, is so nice that as long as I can serve you somewhere in any aspect of life, either in the spiritual world, material world, it doesn't matter, then that's my perfection. But if you desire to go back to Godhead, because Prabhupada writes that in the first canto, in the first chapter, he mentions that very few people want to go back to Godhead. Most people take up spiritual life to improve their material life. That's usually why people take up spiritual life, just to get get better health, get more knowledge, get some position, get some power, get some enjoyment. So if you want to go back to Godhead, that's pretty good. But even greater than that, and more in line with the soul's existence, is to desire simply to please Krishna. So you have to understand this thing in context. It's not black and white. It's not one way or the other, that if you desire to go back to Godhead, you're in Maya. No, it's not. If you actually desire to go back to Godhead, then you'll do things that'll qualify you to get back to Godhead.
So it's bona fide to desire to go back to Godhead.
Yeah, but it's not the highest.
Right, right. Is it desire for moksha, liberation from birth, disease, old age, and death, which wants to make one go back to Godhead? Is that trying for liberation?
Prabhupada said because the devotee is engaged in devotional service, they are already on the liberated platform. So therefore, they don't consider even aspire for that. So if liberation is offered to the devotee, they're not interested. The example was Govamangala Thakur. He would say, Bhukti, Mukti are standing at my door with folded hands, asking, how can I serve you? So Bhukti and Mukti come all automatically for a devotee who is fixed in devotional service. So devotees don't aspire for that. And they think, and Prabhupada said, why should you try for liberation? You just engage in devotional service. Liberation is coming automatically. Why should you try for material gain? Disengage in devotional service. Material gain will come on its own accord. Now, devotees are not interested in desiring like that. They're simply interested in engaging in devotional service, purifying their heart, serving the Lord. And yes, devotional service includes liberation. It includes material enjoyment.
So if we preach that why should we rot here in this material world, which is full of the problems of life, which are birth, disease, old age, and death, why should we not aspire to go back to the spiritual world where we belong? Would that be preaching that is personally motivated?
No, it depends on who you're preaching to.
Well, I was speaking like this in class, and one questioner at the end of the class asked me, he said, I spoke to Japataka Maharaj and I said, should I desire to go back to Godhead or should I desire to serve Srila Prabhupada wherever Srila Prabhupada wants me to be? So Japataka Maharaj said, where would you want to be? So he said, I would aspire to serve Srila Prabhupada wherever he is. So he asked me, so when you preach like this, that we should get out of this cycle of birth and death, go back to Krishna, is it a personally motivated desire for liberation? He asked like that.
I just answered it. You didn't hear what I said, I just answered it.
Okay.
I said, there's still a personal interest in there, but it's glorious because it's the goal of life also.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Parikshit Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to you, Prabhupada. All glories to you. Glories to the devotees. Hare Krishna. My question involves Hare Krishna. Jai. My question involves the the 10th of the last offense, 10th sorry, 10th offense. After hearing the glories of Lord, we still think, and you mentioned the I and mind concept is still there with devotees. Even in the 5th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, Maharaji Shabadi was also talked about the Janasya Mohoya Mahamamiti. So what is it that devotees hearing that we're not supposed to be the I and mind or have that I and mind concept? Why is it that devotees still fall into that, as you mentioned, they fall into that a lot?
Material consciousness. That's all.
Is it okay? That's an easy, but is it because their chanting is not strong enough?
Yeah,
That,
they may be chanting with offense, therefore they can't purify their chanting. Yeah. Offensive chanting will keep you on a material platform.
Okay.
Yeah. But at least theoretically, you should understand that I'm not this body, so anything in relationship to this body is not me, nor anything in relationship to my activities in this world doesn't belong to me either.
Okay.
I'm not an American, I'm not an African, I'm not an Italian, I'm not an Indian. It's like, these things are just bodily designations. We may be one of these things in this life, and in the next life we'll have a different identity.
So then it means it really hasn't sunk in that well then.
Yeah. We're still pretty much identifying with the body and the success of one's material activities as the success of our activities.
Thank you, Raj.
Yeah, just like you see, people come to our temple, Jaya Jagadisa Hare Swami, Jaya Jagadisa Hare Swami. They sing that, they're asking for material things. They come to our temple, we put some rice, some atar, some fruits on the altar. They fold their hands and they say, my dear Lord, make my children get good marks in school, give me good health. Materialistic worshipers. It's a little better than the ones who don't worship at all, but still, it's still on the material platform.
Thank you very much. When you sang the song Jaya Jagadisha, it reminded me of another lecture that one of your godbrothers gave in Harrisburg. And exactly what he said, he actually literally sang the song and added, please give me this material thing, that material thing, and then ended it with Jaya Jagadisha. Right? And I never understood why. Right now you've explained this, so thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Materialistic culture makes them.
Thank you, Prabhu. Silpesh Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. I hope you had a wonderful Janmashtami. My question is, when I hear about the 10 offenses, when I read them, I am definitely making a lot of offenses, and it feels like it's impossible to overcome, and it's depressing sometimes. We're making our efforts to chant and be devotees, but sometimes it just seems very, very difficult.
Yeah, before you take your shower, you still need to get clean. When you start your shower, you you're not fully cleaned yet until you finish. And so if you go in the shower for 10 seconds and you think, well, I'm not getting clean, stay in. Keep scrubbing. Don't quit. It's not that we can get, instant enlightenment. We speak from the absolute platform, this is in order to educate people on what is the goal. But then again, the process is there, getting to the goal. If you get discouraged, we can see our contamination or our offenses or whatever, but then we have to work on it. That's all. It's a process. Somebody asked me in class today, can we go real fast in Krishna consciousness, make it easier to go fast? I said the process works accordingly. You can't force it to make it go fast. It works according to the level of your practice. You can accelerate it by becoming more absorbed in the activities. But that's the best you can do, is take it up in a serious way. But it doesn't mean you can go along the process and make it faster simply by your desire to make it faster. It won't work. Just stay in the shower and you'll get clean. Keep chanting, keep associating with devotees. You want to accelerate the process of devotional service, then take association of devotees. The more you associate with devotees in carrying out the activities of devotional service, like going to kirtans, going to lectures, going to programs such as Janmashtami, Radhastami, Ramachandra, all of these things are ways to get a boost in our spiritual life and develop spiritual relationship. You see Krishna, he's never alone. They say if you see a picture of Krishna alone, it's not a bona fide picture. He's either with cows, he's with his cowherd friends, with the gopis, with his parents. Krishna is never alone. Devotees always seek the association of other devotees in the process of Krishna consciousness. And that will help bring the process quicker, in the sense that the association is uplifting, it's purifying.
And Maharaj, the ninth one, where you shouldn't tell people the holy name if they're not interested. What about when we're doing Harinam on the streets and, people are hearing the holy name, but they're not interested, they could even be intoxicated at the time. Is that not an offense?
No, that's Lord Chaitanya's movement, is to every town and village spread the holy name. Some people will benefit, some people will not benefit, some people will not even like it. Some people will criticize. But that's the chance we take. We're not preaching directly to the individual, we're preaching in the environment, that's all. That's extra special mercy. We don't consider who's fit, who's unfit. We simply offer it in the form of Harinam. The ninth offense is mostly one-on-one discussion, talking to someone.
Thank you, Maharaj. It's really helpful. Thank you, Perry.
Namrata.
Hare Krishna, my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, I wanted to ask, when you mentioned about deities are, we should see deities as God himself. So sometimes we have a connection or liking towards particular deities. So how should we take that when we should see deities non-different from Krishna? Then why do we have this kind of choices, or why do we have this special connections with some particular deities?
You like all foods the same? No, it's all food, right?
Right.
Okay. You have your preference, eh? That's individual.
Okay.
Clear?
Yes. So it's okay to connect with some particular deity and
Not okay, it's natural.
thank you.
We're all individual.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna Maharaj. So we have 2 hands raised and 1 question in the chat window. And it's like already 1 minute over. Should we continue, Maharaj? Or
I can squeeze out 10 more minutes, but that's the most.
okay, Srimati Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances, all to Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, when I'm reading Bhagavad Gita, in 14th chapter, Krishna is saying that transcend the 3 modes and come to me, and you'll get eligible to come to the spiritual world. And in 18th chapter, he's talking about Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, like Brahman stage, where one will be very blissful in that particular stage. I just want to know the difference between these 2 stages, Guru Maharaj, how to understand this and how to explain it to others also.
What's the first stage you mentioned again?
Yeah, it's like transcending 3 modes of material nature and going back to Krishna.
It's the same thing. Both are the same. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, na sochiti, na kankshiti, doesn't hanker, doesn't lament.
Yeah.
Equally disposed to all living entities and engaged in devotional service. This Prasannatma is happy. Yeah, that's the stage of Brahman realization. And it's also the stage of Ruchi. As we go through the 9 stages, that's the 6th stage, Ruchi. Yeah, so it's pretty much describing the same thing from different angles of vision.
Okay. So one of the meaning of Brahman is sometimes in some context in Bhagavad Gita it is mentioned as a soul. Soul is also in the Brahman, but I was a little confused, like in that particular verse, what actually Krishna is trying to say. But I read Srila Prabhupada purport, but I think I need some more clarification on that, Maharaj.
On that verse in 1854?
Yeah, 54 and 55.
Purports are not clear?
Yeah, yes, Maharaj.
So what is the unclarity?
Yeah, the main thing is like, so I want to understand like what is the actual difference between these 2 things. As you said, like everything looks similar, like the transcending 3 modes and being on a situated pure devotional service platform, and the Brahma Bhuta stage, everything looks similar. But somehow I feel like there is some small difference, but I'm not able to get it. That's the thing.
No.
Yeah.
Transcending the 3 modes of material nature means you come to the Brahman platform.
Okay. Yes,
and when you're engaged in devotional service according to these characteristics described in both verses, you're also on the Brahman platform.
Okay.
It's the same thing from these different angles of explanation. Yeah.
Okay.
The wrong platform means that you're no longer engaged in material activities. You're situated. All your activities are on the spiritual platform.
Hmm. Okay, Guru Maharaj. Yeah. I'll read the purports again, and if anything is there, I'll come back again, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Now, the Sochatina Kankshati is there, and you should observe that. Do we still hanker for material happiness? Do we still lament when we don't get material happiness? The Sochatina Kankshati. That's indicative of the characteristics of one situated on that platform.
Okay. Yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
So, Maharaj, there is one question on the chat. Sorry, Devi Mataji, if it's okay with you, I can take question from chat because only 5 minutes left now. So
I'm listening. You won't see me for a minute, but I'm listening.
that's fine, Maharaj. So this question is from Elenia Mataji. She is asking, Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Her actual question is, when offenses are directed at us devotees, we should show compassion and forgive, right? Otherwise, the person who is more or less aware of what he did or said will suffer the consequences. How can we move beyond the pain and forgiveness?
Can we move beyond the,
Pain and forgiveness.
how can we move beyond pain and come to forgiveness?
Yes.
Just do it. We discussed that in class. Elena was in class this morning. We talked about that. And that accept it simply as the mercy of the Lord for your purification. That's one way. You can't do that, and you find it intolerant, then leave the situation. You can't do that, then try to ameliorate the situation by discussing the situation with the apparent offender. But somehow or other, you have to react, right? But if you get angry, or you become what we say, you want to retaliate, then you don't understand that actually there is some benefit that's coming. That's why Prabhupada said, don't be disturbed by the instrument of your karma.
Does that answer your question, Eleni Mataji? You are on mute.
That discussion came up today in our Bhagavatam class. Same thing, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, she is looking happy with that answer, Maharaj. So last 1 minute left. Should we close the call, Maharaj, or should we ask for a few more questions?
I think we can close because I have somebody waiting for me.
Sure, Maharaj, sure. So thank you very much, devotees, for joining this call. Really appreciate for your time. Thank you, Maharaj, for your valuable time. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai. All glories to Ekashi Maharani.
Well, thank you.
Evil, dang, Lord, see the